He just
The
stunk,
issues were on the
and they
field.
moved
He's
on.
just not good at baseball. So what does that mean when players get designated for assignment or get traded? It means when someone gets hurt, all these opportunities open things up for prospects, and it's time for prospecting with the Welsh. That's right. The Welsh and I are going to take a look at some young man down on the farm, might be able to help your fantasy team here for the rest of the season. Welsh, what do you have for the people?
Well, I'm not going to actually talk about it, but Xavier Edwards is probably going to be the guy that's going to get more run, but not super excited.
Well, you said you weren't going to talk about it, and then you talked about it. So
it's a double.
I'm not going to talk about Xavier or whatever.
I'm not going to talk about it, but let me tell you guys about 5 minutes about why Xavier Edwards is not a guy. All right, so there are two guys that are like directly in our face, and Brooks Lee is number one here. I put this tweet out yesterday, and a couple of people brought up some good points. Here's one roadblock to a Brooks Lee going up with the Minnesota Twins as some type of replacement if Royce Lewis were to go down. Roadblock number one, 40-man roster. He's not on the 40-man roster. That definitely throws a wrench into it. In that same vein, number two would be like a guy like Edouard Julien is available. And middle infielders, there's really not, they're not short on any type of middle or, even third base type of infielder. But the positive, I believe it's Dan Hayes who covers the Twins. He had a tweet out saying Brooks Lee would be the guy. Like they were watching if Brooks Lee was going to be pulled from the game. And he's saying like, they're not going to go to Edouard Julien most likely. Brooks Lee would be the player. So I said, go and check how and what type of availability Brooks Lee is in your league right now, because as we await this news, this could be the guy. Hitting 350 on the year, Brooks Lee is, with 7 homers and 8 doubles in under 150 at-bats. He's hitting 333 in June, had just 12 strikeouts. In a perspective here, 5 doubles, 6 homers in the month of June. So he had 1 extra base less in the month than his total strikeouts. Now, the last little thing that could potentially hold a player back, I don't think it would, is he made the futures game roster. So you could argue a team, if they really, we don't want to take this away from a guy. I just don't think that, especially for Brooks Lee's case, it's going to matter. So if Royce Lewis goes on the IL, they could go to Edouard Julien. I believe they will go to Brooks Lee, and they'll nix that futures game appearance because he's been kind of imminent for quite a while. So I am tentatively picking him up. Number 2, I'm actually going to jump, since we already talked about him, to the pitcher. It's Shane Baz. And this one, I think we're toying around with this almost being official, but with Aaron Savale back, the move, as it was reported, I think Mark Topkin mentioned that this was also due to Jeffrey Springs coming back soon and Shane Baz, who's been really good. And there's rumors that Baz could even be starting here coming up on Thursday against the Royals.
Well, they're anticipating double header. I think I saw something to that.
Yeah, right? And that would make sense that he would be back. But he's got a really good opportunity to stay around. Over his last 10 starts so far this year, he's got a 4 ERA, which is not like the best. But in June, we saw 4 more starts with 6 or more strikeouts, but 4 of his 5 starts, multiple walks. The consistency has been his problem, but his fastball is looking great. In his, it's been touching 98, sitting 96. That's what it did in his last start, where in his last start, he also struck out 7. He went heavy fastball slider, but he's also throwing that curve double-digit percentage of the time and kind of not doing anything with the changeup. He had 42 swings on pitches, only induced 12 whiffs. 10 came from the fastball slider combo. I mentioned that because if he's not fooling hitters and not sticking around the zone, guys are swinging at a lot of his stuff, and they're also just not whiffing. They're fouling off a lot of stuff. So his effectiveness is going to be interesting, but he's a total streamer pitcher. And I feel like you and I have talked about him, Joe. And if he were available, do you view him as a streamer or as a hold if he's called up?
Wait, a streamer or a hold? That's
like, are you looking at like you're going to burn and churn a guy like Shane Baz when he comes up?
No,
or do you?
I think I hold. I hold because of the Savale trade, and I'm looking at the rest of the month and saying, okay, when does Springs really come back, and are there setbacks along the way? That stuff is still there. There's enough variables on the positive side for me with Baz, so I'd be a hold more than a stream with him. Also, because he does have the pedigree, and if anything else, if you're still, able to make trades in your league, depending on when, those get shut down, if he has a couple good starts, I might look to churn him to another team and then bring back something that I feel better about, maybe like solidified rotation spot, maybe a team a little bit more offense down the stretch that I could see myself doing.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like leaning in. I don't feel as optimistic as I think as a lot of people do about there's been like some walk issues. The stuff is there. I just don't know if it's going to hold and be consistent, but he is coming. So 2 players that are on the verge, and I know we talked about all these guys at this point in the season, but Coby Mayo. And for the last time, I'm going to present this for the year because I don't think I'll do it again. Hashtag free Coby Mayo. Yes, we are going to put Mayo on all our baseball sandwiches this year. Over 230-ish bats Mayo has had, hitting .321 with 21 homers. He just hit .395 in June and had only 2 games where he did not register a hit. Ridiculous. He currently has hits in 10 of his last 12 games, including 5 during that span. So the question is, how is it going to work? There was actually some, and I think you said it on the show yesterday, some implication out there from the Orioles that he is really close. So how it works is they are going to have to get rid of one of Ramon Urias or Jorge Mateo. I think easily done. By the way, Urias is hitting .217. Mateo's hitting like .230 at this point. It's more defensively. And they do have an issue with having too many rookies on the roster. But you get rid of one of those guys, then what you can do is you can move Westberg over to be the full-time second baseman, which he has done. And I think that was even more of a college primary position. And then you have one of those guys serve as the primary backup. Coby Mayo's bat, it's elite. It's elite of elite. And as we had mentioned, of who is worth stashing, I love talking about Brooks Lee. He's fun. I like talking about Shane Baz. Coby Mayo is the one that no matter what, you're doing this here. He's not getting traded. He's going to be in that lineup you hold. One that comes up a lot, and I think we're on the verge here, is Deyvison de los Santos with the Diamondbacks. I know I've mentioned him before. An absurd .344 average on the year with a minor league. Minor league leading. 26 home runs. Nobody has more homers. He's already gotten over the 100 hit mark, and he just hit .327 with 10 homers in June. So I put it as we're at the point there's not much more to say about him and what his profile has been, but you got to look at the Diamondbacks. Alec Thomas just got back. They sent down Blaze Alexander, and that was a big key for a lot of people. Would Blaze or Eugenio, would they deal with that and get rid of Eugenio? They didn't. Blaze has struggled defensively. Eugenio has struggled offensively. They're disasters. They're going to make a move quickly. So important. Deyvison de los Santos has been a primary first baseman on the year, but 70 innings in AAA, he's played third base, 1 error. So to me, it would not be a surprise if his futures game is cut short, like I'm talking about with Brooks Lee, or if when he leaves the All-Star game, he does not head back to Reno and he goes straight to the Diamondbacks. So yes, I'd be picking him up. And then the last is a big speculation marker here for you. Shay Whitcomb with the Houston Astros, hitting .310, 18 homers, 20 stolen bases so far this year, coming off of a massive June where he hit .347, had 9 homers and 13 stolen bases. His profile keeps improving. He cut his K percentage down from 31 to 21% this year, like Mark Vientos, and he's walking a career high 11.6%. And most interesting is that he's been a middle infielder, second baseman, shortstop, but recently he's been playing in the outfield, and that's where they've got some more spots. So I think he's a guy that could come up, play outfield, and serve as a super util on the infield, and maybe just play regular time. So Shay Whitcomb, just be on the lookout for him. If he does get a call, he might be someone worth picking up. But the rest are the big prospects that we are paying attention to.
There you go, everybody. That's Prospecting with the Welsh. Go to FantasyPros.com to get more out of your prospects and check out all of Welsh's amazing work over there.